once, Blythe. My ass.
I'm only four. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I am your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 39th year of the award at the 43rd Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 1970. Today's guest is appearing for the fourth time. You last heard him talking about The Hole in the films of 1962. Please welcome Sam Meltzer. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Jackie. Are we ready?
How have you been?
I've been doing great. I'm having a little post-Oscars depression.
You've lost all purpose in your life now.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, the last two award seasons before this were pretty awful, and the ceremonies themselves were really bad. This year actually felt like a return to the Oscars, and it had winners that I liked more than the last few years. So I'm kind of feeling the way I did after Parasite won, just kind of sad. But we can go into the Emmys now, and I can preoccupy myself with another stressful thing.
Wait, so why are you sad then if like good things happened?
Because the thing is, I don't know. I'm not like actually sad. I'm just like bored,
Okay. It's just it took you to such a high that regular life seems bad in comparison.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it. But before we get into the shorts, remind us, what is your familiarity with the best animated short category?
Well, I've watched the ones that I've talked about with you. Hopefully, you'd think, but I have.
Well, not all of them.
Not. What do you mean?
There was one of them that you told me that you just didn't watch. It's like Jasper and the Beanstalk, I think.
Oh yeah, because the video wasn't working, and it was like half working.
Yeah,
but it wasn't entirely my fault.
Okay.
But yeah, aside from these, I haven't seen many. I've seen some. I've seen the most recent batch of nominees. They really got the winner wrong this past year, but
yes.
that's another topic. But yeah, no, not the most familiar, not the most unfamiliar, but that's only because I've been on the show several times. I would be the most unfamiliar had I not been on the show.
Yeah, well, that is what this show is good for. And I'm glad that, like, as I have more and more guests, I have guests on over and over again, that they're starting to learn more and more about the category. Yeah. It's just like they could, when I ask that question, it's not just, I don't know anything. It's like, well, I know this and this and this because of the last few episodes.
Exactly. There you go.
Exactly. But yes, let's just get straight into these nominees. There's 3 this year. Our first nominee and the year's winner is It Always Right to Be Right, directed by Lee Mishkin. This is the first nomination and first win for Nick Basustow, and that last name might sound a bit familiar to those who have been listening to the podcast for a while, as Nick is the son of former UPA producer Stephen Basustow. After Stephen had left UPA, he formed Stephen Basustow Productions with his son, Nick, and the company would largely make educational short films meant for either schools or PBS programming, as well as commercials, which was the story for many independent animation studios at this time. However, judging by the credits of the shorts made by Basustow Productions, Nick Basustow seems to be the main creative involved in many of the shorts. I'll talk more about Nick Basustow on his next nomination, so I'll just move on to the short itself. In 1969, inspired by Vietnam Moratorium Day, a large rally held in hopes to end the war in Vietnam, Dr. Warren H. Schmidt wrote a parable reflecting on the many divisions in America and in politics, calling it Is It Right to Be Right? And it was published in the Los Angeles Times. The parable was quite popular and received a lot of acclaim, being praised across the political spectrum. Basusta Productions got the rights to the fable and then adapted it into today's Oscar-winning short film. It is about a world where everyone is right. The old says they are right, the young say they are right, the majority says they are right, and the minority says they are right. Everyone is right, but one day someone says that they are wrong. Is it even possible? Sam, what did you think of Is It Always Right to Be Right?
So I'm just going to quickly share my personal opinion on it, and then I have a little question for you about it. So for me, it is a little bit forced with its messaging. It's pretty in your face. I didn't really mind. Um, I thought it was pretty, you can really understand why people really connected with the story, especially revolving generations, discussing issues of it basically discusses every single social or political issue at the time. It's a little messy, experimental for sure. I didn't love it, but I also was kind of interested in it. I thought the music and the sound effects were kind of eerie and weird. I'm always interested in early 70s, late 60s America and kind of that transition period. Um, my thing is, I don't think this is an animated short. I
It
don't think there's enough animation, and there's
it,
there's
it's all
there's
animated. What?
what do
Did
you
you watch the
mean?
wrong thing?
Did I? Because
Maybe.
so much
Like,
of this for me was just pictures of people with big filters on. And a lot of it was like 2/3 people just and with filters on them, like different colors. And then like some of it was animated and some of it was
oh,
pictures.
okay, okay. I forgot about the stock footage that they had in there. Yeah.
There's a lot of stock footage.
It's
How did you
it's
forget about
largely
it?
animated though.
I don't think so. I think it's mostly not. Did we watch different things?
No, I'm pretty sure we did watch the same thing. It's just that like I think we have differing opinions on the amount of stock footage that's in there.
Right.
Like I'm just
Huh.
gonna scan through it. It's just like yeah, it's like there's animated sequences and then there's a bit of stock footage and then an animated sequence, a little bit of stock footage, and it seems to be largely animated. Yeah, it is definitely
Am I
mostly
blind
animated.
or something? Because I didn't see that.
It is definitely mostly animated. Like I don't know what you're talking about,
Oh
but
no, I'm sure.
anyway, I'll just share my thoughts on it. So like I first of all, I'll start with the stuff I liked. I did like the animation stuff. It's a bit simplistic. Like there's like oftentimes it is just like still images rather than, animation. But I did like the design of it and I like the way and I liked Orson Welles' narration, of course. Like, come on, Orson Welles has
Yeah,
one of the greatest voices of all time, in terms of
yeah,
like speaking. Uh, and so, of course, like everything he says has just this weight of gravitas. But like the meat of this, like what this short is really about, is the parable written by the Warren H. Schmidt, and I just thought that was just so kind of stupid, kind of basic. It's just
yeah.
the most like it's just like why should we fight? Why should we argue when we can just listen to each other? And isn't that just such a powerful message? And I was looking through the comments after this. It's just like everyone's just like, wow, this is just so deep. It's just like this is so relevant. Everybody should
But you
watch
do
this
see that a
now.
lot with these kinds of things on YouTube. Like whenever there's, as we're people who watch all the Oscar nominees, there are some movies that are rare and you'll find them on YouTube and they're probably not good, but the comments will be like, "Oh, this was such a beautiful movie. This performance was one of the best I've ever seen." Like that's what the top comments are all going to be because like and also like YouTube does this. Like if you scroll to the bottom, maybe you'll find negative comments. You see a lot of popular accounts do this, like the Oscars. You like when they get a lot of comments saying that someone won't deserve it, regardless of how many likes those comments get, they will push them to the bottom. So I I feel like that's kind of the same with these. Like you might have to scroll a while in order to see some people kind of criticize it. So the top comments are all going to be like, "This is the greatest animated short I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
This is the most powerful, impactful film ever made." That's what you're going to get.
Yeah, it reminds me of like whenever I end up watching like some of the live action or the documentary short nominees on like YouTube or something, where it's like Stranger at the Gate this from this past
Oh,
year, or as this like that's on YouTube. I think it's from the New Yorker or something, and it's just like you just scroll down, and it just sees like wow, this is such an important message that we should spread love and not hate. And it's just like God. Anyway,
anyways.
this is just a very simple, blatant thing, and
Yeah.
it's just, and I think the most like glaring, I think part of it is like when it. So the first part of it, like it's starts with the old and the young and their divisions, and then it goes to the different races with the majority and the minority, and it's
Yeah.
just like the way it presents it is just like. It wants you to think like, wow, these are both equal sides. But when it comes to racism, it's like, no, you can't just
No.
say like both of these sides are equally right or wrong. It's just like
Yeah.
it's kind of very obviously like what white people have been very much oppressing like minorities, like
Yeah.
non-white people, and it's just like you're very I get the message you're trying to say, but also this is a bad way to go about it, and you should have reconsidered this before you made
Mm. But I
published
can
this
see
thing and
how
then
like
wrote it.
yeah, I can see how like a left-wing audience in 1970 would think it's like amazing though,
Yeah,
right?
I definitely understand like why I definitely understand why this was so
Yeah.
popular,
I
or
mean,
and
that's
why
kind of
this
how I
won.
felt about The Whole, or is that what it was called?
Oh yeah, the whole from yeah, our
Yeah,
last
that's
winner.
how that's kind of it's kind of the same thing. Like the reason why they win is kind of the same.
Mhm. But the whole was good. I know you disagreed,
I
but
liked this more. I thought this was better because it had like during the stock footage, it kind of changed colors and did interesting things with the filters. And I don't know, I kind of like flashy, trippy stuff like that. Reminded me of that Babylon ending a little bit.
okay, we're just talking a lot about like last year's movies, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
true.
uh, I feel like there isn't really much to say about this though. Like
No,
it's
not
very
much really happens. Honestly, it could be like a podcast instead of a short. Like the visuals are doing interesting things, but I don't really know what purpose they serve. Like it could just be like an audio commentary on
well, yeah,
something.
it's because it's literally just like a
Yeah.
memo that was written for the what was it, the LA Times, and then it was
Yeah, and it
animated
works
over.
better that way.
Hmm. But yeah, anything else you'd like to say about this?
No, not
All right.
really.
Now, then we'll move on to our second nominee, which is The Further Adventures of Uncle Sam, directed by Dale Case and Robert Mitchell. This is the first and only Oscar nominations for both Case and Mitchell. Starting with Robert Mitchell, I can't find too much about him. He's made a few short films, animated on a few projects, including the film Yellow Submarine, and then he makes this film, and then 15 years later, he dies apparently of what is said to be malaria. It's a very sparse biography. Dale Case, however, his story starts with his father, Brad Case, who was a Disney animator in the 30s and 40s before leaving the studio and working for multiple studios in the 50s and 60s. By the 60s, his baby boy Dale has gone through college and is ready to work on a big studio assignment, The Pink Panther. Dale and Brad are both animators on the original opening sequence to The Pink Panther and also work on some of the future short films that spawned from that. I can't really piece together how this specific short we're talking about came to be. I see Robert Mitchell joining Kaboosh Studios, and Dale Case did something on the short film K9000, a space oddity with Robert Mitchell and Kaboosh. And then the two eventually find the time and resources to make this The Further Adventures of Uncle Sam. And one last thing, Dale Case is still with us. May 15th will be his 85th birthday. Happy birthday. Hope you don't die in the next month. Anyway, the short starts with Uncle Sam being kidnapped. The goons that captured him plot to kidnap Lady Liberty as well, so Uncle Sam calls Bald Eagle to save himself and then goes to save her. Uh, again, I'm going to start off with the positives for this one. I did really like the character designs and the animation of this one. I really liked how colorful it was. I like how it kind of looked like a political cartoon to me. How it was kind of designed like one of those. It was almost kind of like Far Side, the comic as well. Like if Far Side did political cartoons. Uh, but as for the actual content of this, I did not really care at all. Like the plot of it was just kind of, oh, he gets kidnapped and then they try to kidnap someone else and then they stop them. And that was it. And then it's like it tries to be a little, I guess it is trying to be funny or whatever, it has like some sight gags, I guess, but nothing in this was all at all like funny or anything. I was just kind of bored the whole time, just wondering like, why make this? Like, what was inspiring about this to make it? I just didn't get it or why this was made or nominated even. How about you?
Yeah, this was really, really bad. Um, to be fair, I was expecting more American propaganda than it actually ended up being. That's the biggest compliment I can give it. Oh, and also like the design of the cactus was a little cute, you know?
Mhm.
That's the biggest
That's it.
compliment.
That's it. That's all the compliments you give it.
Yeah, this was really, really like boring. I don't there was something that confused me. Like every like minute, or like maybe it was only twice. Who knows? But occasionally this guy would just come out with a camera and then like disappear.
Yeah, I saw that. I was just like, I wondered why that was happening too. Like, is it like maybe it's a commentary on the fact that oh we always have to be filming things, but then again that's a modern commentary, really. I didn't think that was like a thing back
Right.
in 1970. I don't know.
I don't know
Maybe
what that was.
maybe there's just a perpetual commentary about how everything has to be filmed. It's just like it goes on from generation to generation. Just I don't know, just an
Yeah.
idea.
And
But
also
yeah,
like the
dumb.
blue people who kidnapped him were just screaming and laughing and making random noises. Was that meant to be like some racial stereotype or something? Or
I
was it
don't
just
think so.
was it just supposed to be like the mass? Or
I
like
I like I think I read a review or a comment or something where it's like it's meant to be like capitalism or the market or something, like they're meant to
right,
be like
right.
very greedy corporate people, but I don't know.
Mm.
I don't really understand how kidnapping Uncle Sam is supposed to be uh like capitalism or to make them money or whatever, and kidnapping Lady Liberty as well. It's just like what is
It
this?
doesn't. Yeah, I don't really know what it's trying to say or saying for that matter.
Yeah.
I
One
don't
of
know.
these
And,
is
and the
too obvious.
location,
The other one is too whatever the opposite of obvious is. I forget
it's
that
but
word.
it's not subtle in like a good way. It's like it's not understated. It's barely stated.
Hmm.
That's how to put it. I don't know. The score was kind of interesting. The sound effects were loud. Uh,
They were loud.
you know what? It kind of reminded me of Minions because Minions
Rare.
is just like these minions are just like doing random things in random places, like big places, and there's no real story. And that's kind of what this is.
You know the minions would in fact kidnap Uncle Sam and a Lady Liberty.
Right.
Yeah, maybe
Like,
this is minions. And it's like in the Coliseum at the end. It's just all minions in there watching or whatever.
right. It kind of like I don't know why it couldn't be replaced with Minions today and it would be the same movie. I don't know. There was like a
Honestly,
weird
let's do that. Let's call up
no, I
Illumination
don't think
and
this
tell them
this
to make
deserves
this.
and more time than it's already gotten too much attention. I think I don't know. And
It
I don't know. Like there was also a weird sequence at the end where everything got like out of proportion and like trippy. Was that like was somebody on drugs when they made that or something? It
it's
definitely felt.
1970. Sam.
Yeah,
Of course
everyone.
everyone was on drugs. Woodstock was this year.
Okay, yeah.
Or was it
But
a couple
at
years
least
ago? I
that
don't
was
know.
interesting. This one.
Okay. But yeah. Uh yeah. Illumination, if you're listening, which I know you are, please
Yeah,
remake
no.
this with the
And,
minions.
and it
And you
again,
will
like
get an
all of
Oscar nomination for it.
right. And all of your movies are about 20 million and they make 20 billion. So it'll be a good profit.
Hmm. Yeah, just make it like a YouTube short film or whatever, or at least make sure it qualifies for the Oscars first, and then you release it on YouTube, and then you'll get a 100 billion views, and then you'll get nominated for an Oscar. You won't win because the Academy has at least some standards, but you'll get a nomination, and you'll be
Do
happy.
they buy their winner this year? Do
They
they
wouldn't,
have their
and their standards are weird, but they do have some standards. It's like they wouldn't give an Oscar to a Minion movie.
no,
Like
no,
they would nominate it like they have for Scrat and Maggie Simpson, but they wouldn't give it the win.
true, true.
All right. And that sounds like a good place to move on to our third and final nominee, which is The Shepherd, directed by Cameron Guess, who received his first and only nomination. This episode has been a little frustrating because there's just so little stuff I can actually find about these nominees. All I can find about Cameron Guess is that he worked at NFB for around 15 years, made a couple shorts, started his own studio and made the Oscar nominee, and then complete retired from animation and moved to Florida, and then he died in 1997. That's it. That's all I could find. So anyway, The Shepherd is about a shepherd who lives in the big city and has to find a way to support himself in the modern world, but no one will hire him and his sheep. Sam, what did you think of our final nominee?
I liked this. This was interesting. It had a very different animation style than any of these shorts. Um, it was very cool integrating real life imagery, like certain magazine images and posters with this different type of animation. It's
Mhm.
already okay. I'm gonna. There's an elephant in the room, and I really have to say it. I know this is so immature, but the sheeps look like dicks. Like the way their eyes and their nose are together. I'm sorry.
I didn't even think that. This is the first
Oh
time I'm
God.
hearing about this.
See, this is gonna make it worse. Anyways, um,
I'm gonna look up the short and see if I can see what you mean.
it's the first thing that you can see. Um,
Okay, I, I
I
I get where you're coming from. Like they have pretty long noses and the eyes. And it's just like, yeah, but I'm just focusing on the sheep part of him.
Yeah. Oh, and like all the sheep are like together. Like they're all connected as like one big sheep.
Yeah,
It's
it's they're like a mass. It's I
yeah,
thought that
I
was
mean
fun.
it's kind of sad and dystopian. It's definitely a commentary on immigration, I believe. Um
Yeah,
and
maybe.
something like that, like being an outlier. Not subtle in its messaging, but again, not many animated shorts are. And I think it's effective. I thought it was interesting. The music was really eerie and unique. And I think it did a good job of displaying city life and showing like the routinal energy of it during the day and then like the nightlife and the positions that everyone has and whether or not, it talks about belonging and um the culture of a city and how immigrants or people who've just moved sort of are able or are not able to fit in. And in a way, I think, the metaphor of the sheep is that, the movie discusses how he can't get a job because no one's a shepherd anymore, and probably because he's in a city. There's not much
Hmm.
room for
Yeah,
that.
you can't really be a shepherd in a city
Yeah, but
environment,
I think the
and at
message
least no
is
one would want to hire a shepherd in a city environment.
right. I think that the message is that this person, when he takes away his sheep or gets rid of them, he is now given these opportunities. He's actually given a job. And I think that's definitely a commentary on identity and maybe people who are white passing of a certain generation, and how that sort of affects, personal life, opportunity, all of that. It's not the most subtle, but I thought it was really interesting and well done.
My main thought about it is that I just thought it was really funny. It's the thing.
It was funny. It was
Yeah,
funny.
like I love the gags about how him and the sheep are noisy in their apartment. Like they keep going back to the lady who keeps like banging on the ceiling with her broom to try and get him to stop, but it's all just a bunch of sheep. And then it's just like the different jokes about how like of course no one's going to let him in or hire him with their sheep. Like I think my favorite one was the guy in the computer lab and the
Yes.
shepherd's just standing there with a sheep and he's just typing away on the big old computer, which is what they had back then. It was just it's all fun. And also, oh my, I think my favorite part is really the ending, which I won't spoil because I think it's a very
Oh
good
yeah.
punchline. But my second favorite part is when they cross traffic and you could see like both the shepherd and sheep just keep popping up like out of the mass of cars as they try and get across. So it's just this is a really good sense of visual comedy, and I think it is really funny. And like, of course, it also has the messaging and stuff that you can find out if you really want to analyze it for messaging. But also, it still just works on a surface level about like, haha, it's funny that there's a shepherd in the city.
Hmm. And the humor is presented very dryly
Mhm,
and really like upfront and kind of stubborn, and that's what makes it funny.
mhm. Like, and also it's like this style. It's just, have we had any NFB nominees on your episodes? I can't remember,
I
but
wouldn't know.
I guess you wouldn't. But yeah, this has a very distinct like NFB art style, and it's like when I watched it, I was just like, wait, was this NFB? I didn't remember it being NFB, but it's like no, it's but the animator was formerly at NFB for 15 years, so it's like oh,
Yeah.
that's why it looks like that. It is a Canadian guy, just not he just left NFB after a time. But yeah, this was a really good one.
Yeah,
I
this
was
was
pleasantly
great.
surprised by it.
Me
Uh,
too.
any final thoughts on it?
No, I mean
All
these were all very short, um, which is nice, and there are only three of them too.
yeah.
Weird that they all had. Is there a reason why they only had three this year?
So the amount of shorts can always fluctuate between 3 to 5, or
Yeah.
not have a category if there's less if they can't get three good nominees. But the way it works is that so they have like they first just figure out how many submissions there are, and if there's enough, then they'll go ahead with the category, and then they watch them all, and they have the short list and whatever, and then they watch them and rate them. And they have four ratings they can give. They can give 10, 8, 6, or 4, and like 10 is the best, 4 is the worst, and then they average all the ratings. And if you get above an 8.0 in your rating, then you get a nomination,
Hmm.
that's up to 5. But if there are less than three who get that 8.0, and they'll just take whatever the next highest is. So when there's only three nominees, that could mean that only one or fewer of the nominees he's got, like only one or two of the nominees got the 8.0, and one of them is
Right.
not, or there could just have been only three that got the 8.0. But if there's five, that means all of them got the 8.0.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
How did that Uncle Sam one get enough?
Well, that's what I was
Clearly,
thinking. It's like maybe just
clearly there
Shepherd.
wasn't enough shorts submitted.
Well, yeah,
Right.
there was enough shorts submitted where it could have had a full 5, but it's just like it, I'm thinking is maybe Alden got the 8.0, and just in the 70s people just liked uh the Uncle Sam short, or maybe it
I
was that
guess.
is it always right to be right, and the Shepherd got the 8.0, and then Further Adventures Uncle Sam just got the next highest. Who
Yeah.
knows? But yeah, uh now we've gone through and talked about the three nominees. We are going to rank them all. Sam, give us your number 3.
Definitely the further adventures of Uncle Sam Part Two. I'm sure that does not come as a surprise.
Hmm. Yeah, I forgot to mention, it's just like sometimes the title of this is seen with part 2 at the end of it. Sometimes it isn't. I don't know why that is. It's just sometimes it's called The Further Adventures of Uncle Sam Part 2. There isn't a part 1. Like it's just the short. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It was just another unfunny joke that they decided to make. And also I would agree. Yeah, that is also my number 3, Further Adventures of Uncle Sam. You know, just not funny. And it's just like it has its story. It's not interesting, and it's just not funny either. What's your number 2, Sam?
Well, I think we have an exact ranking here. My number two
Probably.
is the winner. It is Is It Always Right to Be Right?
All right. And yeah, mine is the same. It's just like this and Uncle Sam were very close for me, but
Hmm.
it's just like This just had, I think what it really was Orson Welles. Like he just kind of pushed
Yeah.
it above the other one for me. And it's just, yeah, we talked about it. There's not much to really say about it. And our number one is The Shepherd, of course, because it's actually
Course.
good.
Yeah, it's
It's
the only one that deserved the nomination.
And it's like in many other years, The Shepherd would not be the best one, but in a year like this, it is. So
Clearly.
congratulations to Shepherd. You had terrible competition.
You really did. I don't know why it did. I mean, I do know why it didn't win, but they should have actually watched them.
Yeah, it's just like, but the thing is, I feel like uh the people who vote on this category are, if I remember correctly, like they have to watch them in order to
Oh, okay.
vote for them.
But how did they get access to them?
Just like screenings, you know?
Oh, okay. They just okay. Like they do the same thing today that they did then when they would play the shorts in a theater?
Well, they, I don't believe they did them ever publicly, or at least not until like
Yeah.
recently. But I think the current program with Shorts TV and all that, I think that started in the early 2000s, where it's like let people in the public watch them. But in terms of the Academy members, I think there were just like screenings in LA and New York and stuff for Academy members if they wanted to watch the nominees.
I see.
But yeah, before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Sam, or anything you'd like to promote?
Just on Twitter at Sam the Parasite. Um, I don't really do much else. Not gonna
All right.
lie.
All right.
That's where
Like
most of
like
my
that's fine. It's just like I just
yeah.
have that line in case anybody wants to say anything, anything at all, or promote themselves on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then, well, then thank you, Sam, for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
And then thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.